Hey everybody, it's Roxanne from Champion of My Heart, and today I wanted to talk through what we've learned from this new canine cancer risk data that came out recently. So let's get started, and we'll talk about some headlines and show some charts and talk a little bit about what this means and how you might use this in your real life. So Nationwide Veterinary Analytics released another white paper here in March 2022 with data about the relative risk for pet insurance claims for cancer broken out by breed plus the affected body system, as well as breed plus the age of initial claim. And you can download and read the announcement, the white paper itself, and details on the methodology and the math that they use to calculate these relative risks at this URL here. So I'll leave that up for a second so you can grab that if you need it. Here's what it looks like. Announcement on the left, the white paper itself in the middle, and then the document that explains the methodology on the right. So the Nationwide Veterinary Analytics team did a single variable analysis of pet insurance claims that included 1.61 million dogs. It was over 6 years between 2015 and 2021. And in the data set, purebred dogs account for approximately 60% of the dogs studied. Then what they did is they looked at additional data of the top 25 breeds represented in the data set. So almost 70% of all of the purebred dogs insured by Nationwide are included in these top 25 breeds. So the sample size is like 10,000 dogs across the sample period. So while it's disappointing for some of us that our breeds are not in the top 25, that's why they chose the ones that they did, is because they really do represent a great majority of the dogs insured. So here are the breeds that have been included by ranking. So you've got your Labrador Retrievers, Golden Retrievers, French Bulldog, German Shepherds, Yorkshire Terrier, Shih Tzu, English Bulldogs, Boxers, Chihuahuas, and American Pit Bull Terriers in the top 10. And then the rest are miniature Dachshunds, Maltese, Siberian Huskies, miniature Schnauzers, Pug, Great Dane, Pomeranian, Beagle, Boston Terrier, Rottweiler, Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Australian Shepherd, Pembroke Welsh Corgi, Toy Poodles, and Doberman Pinschers rounding out the top 25. So what relative risk means basically, it provides a comparison to the cancer claim rates for the average of all dogs. So if all dogs have a relative risk of 1.0, which is sometimes represented as 100%, and anything higher than 1.0 or 100% represents a higher relative risk for cancer, and anything lower than 1.0 or 100% represents a lower relative risk. So there are some limitations here. As the Nationwide Veterinary Analytics team explains, these relative risk values speak to the likelihood of dogs of that breed having submitted at least one claim for cancer. They do not infer overall health of the breed, the severity of the cancer condition, or the effect of these cancer claims on the longevity of a specific breed. So let's look at the headlines and the data. As a group, purebred dogs account for approximately 60% of the dogs studied, with an overall cancer claims rate almost twice that of non-purebred dogs. The three breeds with the highest relative risk are Boxers at 261%, Beagles at 198%, and Golden Retrievers at 195%. However, since the overall relative risk for purebred dogs is 189%, that data for Boxers really stands out more than the others at the top of this list. Breeds with the lowest relative risk in the data set were French Bulldogs at 63%, Chihuahuas 52%, and Pomeranians 45%. Here's the chart that shows all of the top 25 breeds and their relative risks. I've marked the Australian Shepherd there with a blue arrow, and that's because that's as close to my breed of dogs in my home as possible from this list. Those of you who know my dogs for other reasons. Clover is purebred Border Collie. Tori is almost exactly 50% Border Collie and Australian Shepherd, with a tiny smattering of English Springer Spaniel. And then Mr. Sticks, our youngest, is mostly American Foxhound, but also a good proportion of Border Collies. And so since those are not represented on this top 25 list, I'm just marking the one that's most relevant to me. You can kind of do the same for yours. And if your breed, if there's nothing even close to your breed here, I understand how, that's frustrating, but this is how the data fell out. So you can see the top 3 highest risks in red, the 3 lowest risks in green, and then all the other breeds in blue. So what's interesting about that boxer data with their super, super high overall risk is if we dig down into their risks by body system, in other words, where the cancer shows up, their relative risk for skin tumors is at 420%. Cancer in, the cardiac system, 462%, in the lymphatic system, 357%, and neurological at 492%. So those are all super, super high, which is what drives that overall higher risk for boxers. Now with Beagles, the relative risk by body system, Beagles apparently are quite famous for getting cancer of the bladder. So their urinary risk is 632, endocrine system 264, liver 333, mammary cancer 234, and cancer of the spleen 242. For golden retrievers by body system, nobody's surprised to see the spleen at 320%, as well as cardiac at 420. In many cases, that's a cancer called hemangiosarcoma. It's typically only found when the dog basically collapses. And, it's a very devastating diagnosis for those of us who've been through it with our dogs in the past. So no surprise really to see those high numbers in golden retrievers. But then they're also showing high risks for bone cancer at 235%, liver at 280%, and then lymphatic system at 265. So here's the chart that kind of shows that the various body systems and how those top 3 relative risk breeds show up, color coded there. So you can see that super, super high green Beagle bar on the far right of the chart for urinary cancer. And then I'll let you look at this here quickly for, mammary and skin cancers, that kind of stuff. Bone cancer is another, big one in the dog world. So what's interesting about Rottweilers in this data is that our dear Rottie friends have an over 1,000% relative risk for bone cancer. That means they're literally 10 times more likely to get bone cancer compared to the average dog. But what's interesting is their relative risk for all cancers overall is 81% because of the lower risks for cancer across almost all the other body systems. So our friends with Rotties definitely need to pay attention to any kind of limping or lameness or lumps and bumps, particularly on Rottweilers' legs, that kind of stuff. So if that's your breed, you really have to tune into that. So this is interesting too. The youngest breeds for age of first claim are Boxers at 7.6 years, Rotties at 7.8 years, and Dobermans at 7.4 years. And the Nationwide data folks said that that's driven by several factors, especially the body systems most commonly affected by cancer in these breeds. So if you have these breeds, these are the ages that you really, need to tune in to, every little change, every little thing, and alert your veterinarian and do some diagnostics with the hope of, catching things early. Now here's a chart that kind of shows the overall data. And again, I drew an arrow next to the Australian Shepherd just because, again, that's what I'm, the closest thing I have to look to on this list. But you'll see it shows everything. It shows the overall relative cancer risk, the breed popularity ranking, as well as the average age of first cancer claims. So you'll see for Australian Shepherds, for closest to my herding dog breed, that's at the age of 10, right? So around 10, I'm going to be wanting to pay attention to, anything weird that's changing. Even a little bit earlier than that. You'll see the, around 7 for some of these breeds, but really nothing too much over 10. So really between about, I don't know, age 7 to 10 is when all of us, need to pay attention to what's going on with our dogs and get help, talk to our veterinarians if there's anything that changes that we think is important. So here is the average age of the first cancer claim by body system across all of the breeds. And so again, you'll see the different, areas that cancer can show up on the left, and then those bars show the, the average age when those first claims get filed. But, and that's in years. So 8.61 years for bone cancer there at the top. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today. Thanks so much for watching. I did a little something different today and only did audio instead of a little video inset of me talking. And to be honest, that's because we got over a foot of snow overnight. And I just handed off my most recent 3 litter of foster puppies. They were here for about a week. And so today is kind of a big sads kind of day. And I didn't feel like combing my hair. So we will see how this audio works. I hope, that worked well for you. And thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you again real soon.